Well, good afternoon, everybody. I see people are joining here. I want to welcome you to this webinar on reshaping the supply chain. My name is Finnur Bragason, and I'm the Global Sales Director at AGR Dynamics. I've been with the company now for over 12 years, working in various areas such as product development. I've been in implementations, sales, and support. But for those of you who don't know AGR, we are a supply chain planning and forecasting expert. We develop our in-house software in the field, and we've been operating for over 20 years. We are operating mainly in the UK, Scandinavia, and recently in North America. Now, one practical thing before we start, if you have any questions, please write them in the text area on your right-hand side in Teams, and I will address them now at the end of the webinar. But today, I want to discuss with you the new digital landscape of inventory optimization and how this is reshaping our supply chain around the world. I'll be discussing best practices that leaders in the field of wholesale and distribution are applying to gain a competitive advantage in their business sectors. And finally, I'm going to showcase how AGR Dynamics can enhance Microsoft D365 Business Central to gain control and visibility into your supply chains and inventory levels. Now, you've probably heard the term digital transformation a lot recently. In a nutshell, this is the adoption of digital technology by companies to improve efficiency, value, or innovation. And this is currently taking place in all aspects of our lives. And there are a lot of success stories in the field, such as Nike, Best Buy, Alibaba, Microsoft recently, and many others who have both welcomed and invested into this ideology with great success. Now, I want to take an example of Alibaba Group. These guys have more businesses than you probably can count. They're a massive e-commerce platform. They do cloud infrastructure. They operate in payment, financial services. They're in logistics. They do digital media and many other. Despite operating in these vastly different areas, there's one single aspect, or if you will, glue that links their business together and works as a focal point for their digital transformation journey. And this is data, data, data. They refer to themselves as actually a data manufacturing company. They use all kinds of innovative ways to drive their business through data mining and data utilization. Now, I'm not going to dwell too long on the details of their journey through the digital transformation. And you might find that these enterprise-sized businesses are somewhat irrelevant to your environment. But the fact of the matter is that these enterprise-sized companies, they're taking an ever greater piece of the pie by investing in these advanced technologies. Now, on the positive side, these technologies are becoming ever more accessible and much more affordable to small to medium-sized companies, giving us the opportunity to adapt at a faster pace and keeping up with the competition. I'll come back to this point a little bit later in my presentation on how AGR can help in this area. But I want to continue a little bit on discussing how this is affecting the supply chain. We are seeing methods by which planners are making decisions drastically changing, following greater access and visibility into business data. There's valuable data being collected by the ERP systems and actually various other sources that we can put to work to a much greater extent than we're doing today. We're seeing flexible planning engines emerging everywhere we're looking. And by using advanced forecasting methods, AI, machine learning technology, and this is driving customer service levels to a much greater extent than even just 5 years ago. By applying best practices, companies are gaining much greater visibility and control into their supply chains. And this in turn can drive the automation and optimization of inventory levels that we're all looking for. Furthermore, we're also seeing an increasing focus on lowering carbon footprint by using these advanced forecasting techniques by optimizing order quantities, minimizing transportation costs, and overall holding costs in the supply chain. Now, digital transformation, ways to achieve this. We're seeing a massive investment taking place in supply chain management software. This investment is enabling companies to reduce their inventory carrying costs by up to 30%, dramatically improving their cash flow while maintaining high levels of availability in key business areas. But what is this approach, and what are the key areas to focus on in order to transform successfully? Now, I've identified a couple of areas where we should focus on in this journey. And to begin with, I want to just mention to develop a plan to ensure a successful project, and to ensure that the process is as smooth as possible. We need to start by developing a full understanding of our current and future business requirements, taking everything into account, including infrastructure, security, application environments, and not only focusing on the business processes. Now, the second point here is data. Data is focal here. There is, as we say, an ocean of data available in the ERP systems and various other data sources. We need to identify this data, and we need to put it to use at a greater pace to improve decision making. Now, once that's in place, of course, it's important to constantly evaluate our success against our original KPIs and then continuously make improvements to improve our utilization of this data. Now, of course, selecting the correct technology platform is key here. We need to have seamless data access which is very important, as well as just creating this visualization and this intuitive user experience to be able to utilize the data correctly. Now, what we're seeing is a strong tendency in the market towards cloud platforms and platforms that are delivered on a SaaS or software as a service basis. And of course, we need to take the whole IT landscape into account when we're evaluating this. Lastly, and this is quite an important part of the digital transformation ideology, this is the collaboration part, because digital transformation means business transformation. I mean, projects will involve changes in company culture as well as in systems and processes. So while technological changes itself can be easily implemented, having employees and management to willingly adopt changes can be complicated. So it's vital to clearly articulate both the short and long-term IT and business goals to the whole company and collaborate on those. Now, at AGR Dynamics, we focus on these key areas to deliver best practice processes around demand and supply planning. And we deliver this on the very latest technology platform. We've taken our 20+ years of experience working with companies of various sizes and in different business verticals. And what we've done, we've created a solution that tackles the most pressing challenges facing wholesale and distribution companies when it comes to inventory management. Now, we're delivering this solution as an add-on to D365 Business Central. The solution is available on AppSource, and we're delivering it through Microsoft Azure. And more importantly, we have minimized the risk to such an implementation project by covering all costs in one monthly fee. That includes all of the implementation work, all of the technical work, all of the configuration work, also the training, hosting, and then the subsequent services related to operating a system like this. So 1 monthly fee, all inclusive. Now, we call this solution AGR Essentials because it gives you the essential toolkit for forecasting, demand planning, and order management to gain this visibility and control over your inventory levels. Now, these are some of the focus areas that the solution covers, but I don't want to dwell on all of these. I just want to go into the solution itself and give you an example how you'd use a system. The solution is completely like AGR Essentials. So we just log in through a browser. We can use single sign-on capabilities. And here I'm situated just in my items list. I want to start off with showing you how we visualize all of the parameters associated to these items. So clicking on an item here, we can see we're opening up the item card. Now I'm looking at this item and the data on a monthly level. We can drill this down to weekly and daily level as well. And here I can control the horizon I'm looking at. So I'm looking at 12 months into the past and 24 months into the past and 12 months into the future. So where I have my mouse, this is today. So on the left-hand side, we're looking at historical sales data. Now, the system will go through multiple forecasting algorithms and statistical forecasting methods, and it will automatically generate a forecast moving forward. So taking into account seasonality, growing sales, and basically if there is a trend in the data, the system will find this automatically and create this forecast automatically. We also have some indicators here to indicate characteristics of the items. We can see here we have a seasonal item, and based on our automatic ABC analysis, this is a C item of low importance. Now, opening up another item here, the user is quick to see if there's any discrepancies in the data. And we can see straight off here that I had 0 sales between November and December in 2020. Now, I can then add some additional information to the graph, such as the stock units. And what we can see here is that actually I did not have any stock in place, which is probably what is resulting in the 0 sales. Now, in this case, I can create or edit the sales history manually, and I can simply create sales history moving forward. And we can see on the right-hand side that the forecast is updated instantaneously. Now, because I know my current stock levels and we have a forecast moving forward, the system can display here the estimated stock levels. And if we zoom into this part of the graph, we can see how the stock is estimated to evolve during the coming days and weeks. And the system is telling me that I will most likely have a stock out for this item on May 11th if I don't respond. Here on the top-hand side, we can see some columns that are giving me more insight into my inventory. Everywhere in this system, we have a settings pane on the right-hand side where we can select the columns that we want to display. We are drilling this data or mining this data directly from D365 Business Central. And in this case, we can pull up various sales information based on quantity or costs. But we can also pull in information such as days cover. As we went through earlier, because we know the forecast, we know the current stock levels, we can display how many days cover we have of each item in each location. Now we can furthermore filter down on this. So if we put a filter here on the days cover, we can see in the demo database here, I have 1,415 items. But if I prompt the system to let me know or show me all of the items, I have 3 days or less in sale, will be filtered down to 170 items. Now I can do further analysis on this item list by taking any column and dragging it here on the top level, and then I can group my items based on that column. So we can see here under accessories, we have a list of items, and I can do a secondary grouping based on my primary vendor. We can then see from which vendors I have this potential stockout situation. Now, if I'm happy with this report, I can simply save the report, give it a name, and I can select some sharing options if I want to have it a report for me personally or share it with my team or with specific roles. Once I save this report, it'll be added to my reports library for future management. Now we have a large library of standard reports in the system. It's quite easy for users to amend the thresholds on those reports depending on business requirements. Now, to give you an example of some of the standard reports here, we have daily reports where I'm looking at items that are in risk of stockout. For weekly reports, we're looking at fast movers, slow movers, and then potentially new items that have no forecast. In that case, I can actually connect those items to older items, and I can borrow the sales history and actually the stock history as well. Now, as I say, there's a long list of reports in here, such as overstocked items and so forth and so on. But moving forward, I want to go into the ordering part and demonstrate how we create an order and how we can create order schedules. So we'll do that by going back to the items, and we would create the order groups based on primary vendors. We can base the order groups on any level of the business, product groups, single SKUs, or vendors. But in this case, I'm going to do it on vendor level. So I'm going to filter down to Adidas, and here the system will filter down on the 46 items I have open to purchase from the specific vendor. So I'll save that group, and then the next step is going into my schedules. So we have a list of schedules in here, which we can associate to this order group that I just created. I can also create order groups on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis. So if I set up one here and I exclude January because of Chinese holidays and because of payment purposes, I want to place this order on the 10th of each month. So this means that on the 10th of February, the system will look at these 46 items I defined in my previous view, and it will look at the individual forecasts for those 46 items, taking into account all of the order parameters, such as minimum order quantities, lead times, order multiples, and so forth and so on, and suggest an optimal order quantity to cover the period from February 10th to March 10th. But actually here in December 10th, the system recognizes I'm not placing an order in January, and it'll place an order to cover a 60-day period. So when the buyer or the purchaser comes into work, he goes into the orders. We can see here a list of unconfirmed orders. If I click on an order, I can get the individual items that belong to that purchase order, and we can view the parameters here. We can amend the order quantities, so I can take this from the 78 suggested units up to 400, and the system will update the graph instantaneously. So it is quite visual. So here in this case, we'll see that we're placing an order for a 4-month period. It's probably too long. I can amend these quantities also on an aggregate level. So we can see here on the right-hand side, we have various information on the purchase order. We can see here we have the total value of this order, it's $13,000. So I can here apply constraints. So I could tell the system that I want to constrain this order to be less than a 14 days cover. We could constrain this on a number of pallets to say that the pallet should be under 22 to fit into a container, and I could fill up with my lightest items. But I can also do value-based constraints to tell the system I want this purchase order to be at least $20,000. And the system will then iterate, give me some name here. And if we apply this constraint to the order, you can see the system will iterate the quantities and add days to the order period, and it'll then optimize the order value to be just above $20,000. Now, when the user is happy with the order, we can simply confirm it, and it'll then automatically be transferred to Business Central as an unconfirmed purchase order. Now, this was just a short glimpse into what the system does. We have a lot of other functionality. One of the strong areas here is the planning area, where we can look at sales plans and purchase plans. But I would encourage you to contact us after the webinar, and if you're interested in learning more, we can set up a more in-depth demonstration of the solution. We will be sending out emails to every participant after the webinar with some recordings and some additional information. You can simply reply to that email if you want to learn more. Now, I see we have a few questions, or at least one question here. I see somebody's asking if the Essential product offering is compatible with NAV, and I'm happy to report that we are compatible. We can set up Essentials against previous versions of Dynamics NAV. Well, I think that was all for today. I just want to thank you very much for your time, and until next time.